Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD Podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD Podcast. As always, I'm excited to be here and thank you so much for being a listener. And today I have a treat for you. I have the amazing Dr. Latifat Akintade of MoneyFitMD. She is our special guest for today. And we're going to be talking about two fun things, a little bit about entrepreneurship, how she got there. And we're going to talk about doctors, personal finance, money, all of that. She's a really phenomenal doctor and she does this from a place of service. And I have met her clients and the stories they tell me are mind-blowing. So I'm excited to have her here. You're going to learn a lot from this. So welcome to the show, Dr. Latifat.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure chatting with you. And I feel really blessed to be chatting with your audience today.
Yay. It's going to be so much fun. All right. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. And in the EntreMD world, you know, we like to humble brag. So go for it.
All right, humble brag. So for those that are listening, I am Dr. Latifat, aka MoneyFitMD. I'm a physician, a GI doc. I'm a mama of 3 little ladies. I live in California and I love hanging out in my backyard on my hammock. So what am I doing here? Why am I on the EntreMD podcast? I am because I'm a physician entrepreneur. I help women physicians solve their money problems. And what do I mean by that? So I have been in the money space for a little while now, doing more of the financial education, learning the how-tos, but I wasn't always like that. I started from scratch, from fixing my own problems first. And what do I mean by that? So I'll tell you guys, because I'm here and I'm here to hang out. So I'm here to share all the details. I finished fellowship about 5 years ago. And I will tell you, I was heck broke. I knew zero about money, no 401k. No one taught me about money. I was scared crapless about money. But one thing that I knew was that I wanted to be a physician, and that's all I wanted to be. I wanted to be a fantastic GI doc. I wanted to see my IBD patients and just be the doctor that I've always wanted to be, right? And then I looked around and I'm like, why is everybody burning out in medicine? Why are the best physicians that I know like tired? It's like they're running out of steam, right? And what I found was part of this is the state of healthcare in the United States, but part of it is also because we as physicians, we've lost our voice. And I realized that if I continued on the path that I was, if I continued to know nothing about money, I was going to burn out. So my interest in money wasn't because I wanted to do any business or be an entrepreneur. It was because I wanted to solve my own problems. And I knew that I didn't want to do it like everybody else. I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it to not be overwhelming. I wanted to enjoy life in the process, right? And I hated budgeting and spreadsheets. So I had to figure out a way to make this work. So that's how this started. I did all the usual stuff people do, reading books, listening to podcasts, and I was able to solve my own problems myself. And that was the most empowering thing I could do. I did that with my husband. He's also interested in this, not as interested as I am, but he's cut the bug a little bit. So that's how it started. And then I started teaching other docs, like helping, not even teaching, helping my friends, my families, and my coworkers would ask me, my colleagues are like, I'm about to do this with money. Can you help me? I'm about to do this with money. Can you help me? And that's how I started in a nutshell.
I love it. And I'll tell you part of why I love it. It's so interesting that so many businesses start from us solving our own problems. And they were like, wait a minute, there are a lot of me's around here, right? And let me help them solve their problems as well. And it's beautiful because then you can really be authentic in business because you're coming from a place of service. And then money happens to be the thank you notes that people give you for serving, right? Like it's so beautiful. Now, at some point, people had already started coming to you and like, oh, help me do this, help me do that. At some point, you decided to make this a business. So what was that trigger? How did that come to be?
There was no one come to Jesus moment. There wasn't. This was a process, right? Because like I mentioned earlier, my goal was to be a fantastic GI doc, and that was it. I'm like a one-trick pony. I'm a physician. That's it. I can help patients. I'm good at what I do. And that's all I've ever wanted. So there were times when I'm like, well, maybe I could do this. No, you're not an entrepreneur. Maybe I could actually, people are doing it. They're helping people. No, I can't do that. I cannot. Business is just complicated. And it was interesting because my husband and I went for a conference, and I don't know that I've ever told you about this. We went to a conference, and it was a physician mom PMG conference before the pandemic. And I remember we were talking, and I said, babe, I really think that I want to do this, but I don't think that I want to do it. And we kind of crazy, right? And what I found was that the reason why I didn't want to do it was because I was afraid of what success would mean. I was afraid that if I have a business, does that mean that I'm not going to be a great physician? Does that mean that I cannot be a great mom? Does that mean that I cannot be a great friend, a great human? Does that mean that now I'm not going to have time for the social justice stuff that I enjoy doing so much? So really, I had to sit down and go, okay, it doesn't have to be an either or. It can actually be all those things together. And the more financially independent I am, which we already were by that point, the more I have the power of choice to choose what I choose to be with those different hats that I want to wear. And that was how it started.
I am so glad you brought this up because I'll tell you something funny. Before I started working with clients, I did not realize there was a thing like the fear of success. We all have blind spots, but the more I talk to docs, the more I find that this is a legit fear. Right? Like, then what happens to my work-life balance? It goes away. I'm not going to be a good spouse. I'm not going to be a good parent. I'm not going to be able to do the things I enjoy, right? Like you're talking about your passions of the social justice things you do. You're like, I'm going to lose all of that. So let's dig into that just a little deeper for maybe 5 minutes or so. But so now you're here. And over the course of a year, you've built a really powerful brand and you're helping doctors and you're doing all of this stuff. So what has that done? Was the fear legit? Have you lost that ability to be a good mother, a good wife? Are you still able to do your social justice things? Like, how has that changed the dynamic?
So one thing I'm going to point out is labels. Labels are interesting because we put labels on ourselves. And sometimes that's actually a cop-out. Like that's like an easy way out. Because the labels we put on ourselves are the results of micro decisions that we are making. So when my fear was that if I have a successful business, I'm not going to be a good physician. I'm not going to be a good gastroenterologist. At the point when I'm sitting down with my patients, I'm making micro decisions of being a great physician. So there's no like, hi, I'm a great physician. Hi, I'm a great mother. Hi, I'm a great entrepreneur. No, those are the results of micro decisions. So what it means is that the fear hasn't completely gone away. I don't let it take over my life. I don't let it be the reason why I live my life. It's at the back of my mind. And what that does is it makes me be intentional about the decisions that I'm making on a micro scale. So for example, I'm not going to pick up my phone because I want to hang out with my kids. I am going to say no to that gig or that talk or that speech or whatever it is because I want to not do anything, right? So what we are is not because of the labels. The labels are actually excuses. What we are the result of the micro decisions that we're making, and you have the power to say yes or no. And that's the beauty of it.
I love that. So, if you become a successful entrepreneur, you'll be bad at XYZ is actually not possible. The only way to be bad at XYZ is to make the wrong micro decisions over time. So you have control over your decisions so you can be a great entrepreneur and a great physician and a great spouse and a great parent if you choose to be.
All of
that is
that.
so good.
All of
so
that.
good. Okay. So that's a bonus, people. I wasn't even thinking of going there. She brought this up. This is her fault. That is so good. Okay. So now I want you to, before we go into the money stuff, right? I want people to get a sense for what you've done, right? Because you've been working on this for about a year. And I want you to talk about some of the highlights you've had as an entrepreneur, right? Whether that's the stage you landed on or kind of client that you helped or whatever that is. What kind of highlights have you had?
Oh my goodness, I have so many. How many did you ask me to share? So the way that I would break it down into one client, into one platform, and one personal as an individual, as an entrepreneur, right?
Go for it.
Because those are all very, very different. And I like to focus on how those are because it's not good enough to have a successful business if I'm not growing as a person. And I can have a successful business by having the idea and letting someone else do everything. But I want to grow as a person. I want to be the kind of person that can be here on a podcast with you. So as a person, I would say that one is the moment I realized that I was no longer afraid of hearing no.
Ooh, that is so good. I love that. Yes. I love it. It has stopped more businesses from starting than anything else. I love it. Okay, keep going.
Yep. No is not a problem for me. And the reason why no is not a problem is I've spent time. Number one, this work has changed my entire life for myself as a human, as a mom, as a person, as a woman, everything, as a wife, everything, right? It has done that for me. Number two is that I know that the material works. So I have full confidence in my product. I have full confidence in myself. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I know that I'm all right. And all right is good enough for me, right? So when someone tells me no, I know it's not because I'm a horrible person. And I know it's not because I have a horrible product. It just means not right now because of what's going on with them or what's going on with me. Or it's just not a good fit. And that's okay because I'm taking my excellent product and my good enough self and we're moving on to the next ship, right?
Love that. Okay. Not afraid of saying no. Okay.
Not afraid. Zero. It's just no. It's like water rolling over like an oily surface. It just rolls off of it. That's it. Pretty easy, right? And then as a coach, I have so many amazing stories. And the one that I want to highlight, it's not one of this person started like broke and then they ended up being billionaire. No, it's not that. It's celebrating the potential. I will tell you that one of the women that was in my program, I coach one-on-one, and I also have a group program that I do for women physicians. The one that I had in the fall, there was one of the people that was enrolled in it. She said at the end of the 8 weeks program, that when I started this program, the only thing I was concerned about is my debt. The only thing I've ever had in my mind as a financial to-do was pay off my debt. By the end of this program, I'm opening up to the idea of building wealth. That's something I've never considered before.
Yes. That is beautiful. That is beautiful.
It is, because it's not just about the money. It's what it means for her as a female. She actually, and I'm not going to give more details because I don't want this person to be identified, but it's what it means for her as a person, for her as a human, for her as a physician, for her as a mother. And what the fact that she has now gone from just thinking about her debt only to the idea of maybe I can actually build wealth, and the impact that's going to have on her kids and their generations and their generations. And now she practices medicine, and maybe she doesn't need to burn out. Maybe she has the power of choice. So again, it wasn't like a glamorous story of, oh yeah, she got 100K here. I mean, all that is easy. That's going to happen. But because of who she now has been, that's why the money stuff is going to happen.
I like all of that. That's transformation. That's why we do what we do. That's, yeesh, that's so nice. Okay. Whew. All right. Keep going.
And the last one is as a speaker. So I will tell you, I did the White Coat Investor, depending on when you listen to this, the White Coat Investor Conference, which is a well-known financial education platform among healthcare professionals in general. She just held a session recently. And it's interesting because I've spoken a lot. I've been on a bunch of podcasts. I've talked in groups. I've done a lot of speaking because I enjoy this stuff. And I want everybody to have money. If you're listening, I want you to have money. So that's why I talk. I want you to have money, right? But it was interesting because I wrote an article for the White Coat Investor, and it was a great article on how to declutter your finances. And it was great. And then I didn't even consider applying to be a speaker on there until I think it was maybe the editor reached out and said, oh, are you a speaker? Have you considered applying? And I'm like, actually, I never even considered applying. So I said, well, because I'm not afraid of doing things, I'm like, sure, why not? What's the worst that can happen? I would go there and like eat sand. So what? I still like myself and I still have a great product. Nothing's changed, right? And I did. And it was a great experience, not just because I got to speak on that stage, but because I had the confidence to speak about money in a way that was different. I wasn't there to say, eat top ramen till you die, right? I wasn't there to say, give all your money to a financial advisor. I was there to tell you that you can create money and be financially well in a way that's healthy and breathable for you. And I think that just spoke to a lot of people. There was a great feedback. I mean, people said things like, that talk was worth twice my enrollment for this program. You need to bring her back. And it's not just about the reason why I bring this up, it's not just because of what people said, but it was just the power of just saying yes and saying, what's the worst that can happen? And doing it. And magic happens.
And magic happens. And you've had a lot of magic, and I've loved watching it.
Thank you.
But I'll tell you this, though. Yes is kind of your thing. And I'll tell you about the first time we connected, not the first time we connected, but when we connected right in the middle of the pandemic, right? Because we started working together in April of 2020. Okay, people? April of 2020 was when COVID was at an all-time high and nobody knew what was going on, right? Nobody knew where COVID came from. Nobody knew if we were going to be shut down. Nobody knew if we could travel. Like, nobody knew anything. And then here you are saying, I want to launch a business, right? And I was just like, I like her. Like, like if you're thinking those kind of thoughts, like I need a coach now and I want to start a business when the whole world is like, we think the world is ending. I like her. So now I'm going to ask you, what made you think that way in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody was, well, not everybody, but most people are like lost, like completely lost. And you're like, hire a coach, launch a business. That's kind of what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So first of all, I was not always a yes person. I was a no person. I was it depends. Let me think about it person. So that yes person was the result of a lot of work already. So if you're listening and you're like, I was not a yes person. My yeses have literally come from a place of working on my relationship with myself and saying what's the worst that could happen. Because most times when we say no, it's because we're afraid of, the turbulence that's going to happen within us if this external thing was to change. But when your internal is not perfect, but you're like, I like myself no matter what. I like myself. I'm glad I'm me. It's a book, by the way. There's no one else I'd rather be. I like my freckles, my nose, my bumps. I like everything about me. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And that's good enough. And that's why the yeses came from. But to answer your question about why, that happened? It was because everything was coming down. Physician jobs were no longer secure for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Doctors were freaking out about their money. My colleagues, who I absolutely love, were worried whether they're going to get a paycheck or not. And I had zero worry about my paycheck.
Love it.
Zero
Yes.
worry.
Yeah.
I knew that at the worst, this would be an inconvenience. But that's all it's going to be. And I'm like, I have this information of how to do that. How have this journey of how I went from zero to this in a way that is not a get rich quick scheme, but it's healthy, it's breathable, and I have not sacrificed my relationship. And now there's a fire. Heck yes. Like, I can't think of a better time to get this information out than now, when all the doctors are worrying about their paycheck. I could not think of a better time than last year.
Love it. And I'm glad you started it.
Me too.
Super glad. All right. Let's talk money.
All right. Money.
Let's talk money. So now, what are, because you worked with a lot of doctors now. So what are the top problems that you notice that doctors have with their money, right? And what do we do about it?
So this is going to sound a little fluffy, but it's completely is the number one reason. It's because we're trying to be like everybody else.
Ooh, okay. Let's unpack that.
We're trying to be like everybody else. So think about it, right? And this is why representation matters. This is why it's so important to make sure that we'll have diversity across the board. Because what happens is that people look at the definition of success. They think it's this one thing. And they're like, I have to be that one thing in order to be successful. And when they don't identify with that one thing, guess what? We feel like a failure. We run away. We avoid our finances. So if there's one thing that I would say is the most common problem, it's because we think, and maybe there was before, there was this one size fits all thing that has been going on when it comes to financial education. And that is one of the reasons why we fail. Okay. We're like, I didn't do my 401k. I didn't do my Roth IRA. Everyone has this. Everyone has that. Everyone has a 529. But the bottom line is personal finance has to be personal. Yes, there are some easy steps you could take if you want a foolproof way, but the foolproof way doesn't work for everybody. So when women physicians and in general physicians are running away from finances because everyone thinks it should be this one picture, it shouldn't be that. We need to figure out what's going to work for you based on your goals, based on what you're earning, based on what feels right for you. And we can create a plan that's specific to your needs. That's the number one thing I will say.
And the quote I'm taking away from that is personal finance is personal. Yes. I like it. Okay. All right. Go for it.
And then number two, I'm going to say is avoidance. Avoidance comes from a place of a culture in medicine where we've been taught to not talk about money. Right? A lot of times, you've gone through medical school. You're like, oh my goodness, I have 6 figures in debt. And people are like, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out. And then you become arrested and like, oh my God, I have no savings. Like, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out. You become an attending like, oh my God, I don't have money. Don't worry about it. We should not be talking about money in medicine. So money has become a taboo we don't talk about. And when you talk about this, when you start talking about money, you're like, well, I'm a doctor. I should not be talking about money. I should not be asking for my worth. That means I'm greedy. If I'm asking for how much I should be getting paid, even though I know my colleague is getting paid $75,000 more per year than I'm getting paid, but if I ask, I'm going to be perceived as being greedy because that's not what doctors do. If I ask for payment for the forms that I'm spending 5,000 hours per month doing, I'm going to be perceived as a greedy doctor that doesn't care about my patients. Guess what? Who gets to hurt when you quit medicine because you are burnt out? When you quit medicine because you're broke? Who is winning then? You're not winning. Your patients are not winning. So in my opinion, the best thing we can do as physicians for ourselves, for our patients, is to be financially well and stop ignoring our finances. Because when we don't ignore our finances, we actually have a chance to know it, to learn it, to become good at it. And when we do, guess what? We're going to practice medicine in a pace that's breathable, that's healthy for a long time, and we win, our patients win.
Okay, stop avoiding. What will you tell the person who, probably gets hives when they talk about money, right? They're like, okay, I want to stop this. I want to become comfortable, right? Because you are right. It's like a taboo. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship. People are like, I feel like business destroyed medicine. So how can I be in business? It's just like this bad thing. So how would somebody practically start working on becoming more comfortable on having those conversations and making it a normal conversation? There's no reason why our heart rate should accelerate when we're talking about money. I mean, it's a thing like anything else, right?
The beauty of this is my heart rate used to do the same. So I know exactly what I did. The first step, honestly, is realizing that I'm not going to die by looking at my finances. Sounds pretty dramatic, but literally that's what my brain was telling me. And that's the thing, right? Our brains are meant to protect us. They've evolved back in the day. That's how you were able to avoid being eaten by a lion. So now your brain doesn't know the difference at this point, whether you're about to be eaten by a lion or it's just looking at your paycheck. And I literally had to learn that, okay, Latifat, if you look at it, it's okay. Your heart rate may go up, but that's all right. It's going to come down at some point if you stay long enough, right? So that's how you start. So that's the fear. But the other thing is going back to that relationship with yourself and liking yourself enough, loving yourself enough that whatever the numbers say, they're just numbers. You are not broken. The past is the past. You don't have to punish yourself for the past because, in fact, when you're punishing yourself now for the past, you're dragging the past along with you. But today you can make a different decision by looking, and that decision today is going to affect what shows up 5 years from now, 10 years from now, so that you don't have to keep dragging the past errors, the past mistake, right? So that you don't have to keep dragging that over yourself.
So the numbers are numbers. Separate yourself from the numbers. The numbers may be bad. You are good.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I love that. Okay. And that's practical and that's true. And I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Problem number 3.
Trying to get to the end point on day one.
Oh, no. You're going to need to say that louder for the people in the back. Yeah, you're going to need to say that again because that is huge. Okay, go for it.
So that's the thing, right? We have this idea of what financial freedom means or looks like, or being independent or having money looks like. But we have to understand that you don't start there, you end there, right? And I love compounding. Compounding is one of my favorite terminologies because compounding affects every part of our lives. It's compounding in terms of, okay, this is taking those baby steps. And compounding could be in terms of the knowledge. If yesterday you didn't know what a 401k was, and today you know where to find the definition, you've already moved forward. And then tomorrow you know where to go look. And the more you do that, that information compounds. And guess what? 2 months from now, you're going to know what a 401k is, and you may not have known what it was yesterday, right? Compounding matters in terms of your interest. Where are you investing your money? You're like, I invested 10 grand in this stuff and he hasn't made a lot of money yet. First is want to make sure you're investing in the right things, right? You're not, I tell people it's like an old person putting a pot of water on the stove and like, it's not cooking. You never turn the stove on, right? So making sure that the actual stove was on, making sure that you actually are invested where you think you're invested, and then giving that time to compound. It may not change today and tomorrow, but in a year from now, it's going to look different as long as the stove was on. Make sure it's not off, because that's a problem we found, that sometimes if we're invested, they're like, it's not growing, this is bad. And you're like, no, you invested in completely conservative. It's not going to grow. You're not going to lose it, but you're not going to grow it either. So compounding is a big term that I want us to put into every part of our lives, in our relationships with ourselves, with our spouse, with our kids, how we spend our time, how we spend our money, and how we acquire knowledge.
Don't try to get there on day one. Okay. So for the person who's impatient and they're like, I started investing yesterday, I don't see all the money. So let's say this was their pattern. What do they do to slow down? Not slow down in creating a compounding effect, but slow down as far as enjoy the ride, understand that it's a ride, right? We're going somewhere, we're not there.
So those situations is the exact reason why I decided to become a certified coach in combination with my financial education and planning. And the reason why is because those are cognitive tools that a lot of times we haven't been taught. Right? And the first thing I would ask that person is, where are you rushing to? It's usually because they're rushing towards something or away from something. So we need to figure out why their life sucks so much, like why their job sucks so much that they're rushing to get out of it. Is it a problem with the job, or is it a problem with how they're thinking about it? That's one. And then where are you rushing to? A lot of times people are like, I want to, because I need to retire. I need to like be done with my debt. Why do you want to be done with your debt so fast that you actually are preventing yourself from enjoying this process? And sometimes I hear things like, it's a reminder of the mistakes that I've made in the past. Or it's because I think if my debt is gone, then I will be able to cut down at work. And then we're like, all right, let's take a deep breath. Let's look at the debt. Let's look at the interest and see, can you actually cut down right now so you don't have to rush so fast that you burn out, right? So it's that livable, that breathable finance and livable and breathable life. And that's what this is all about.
Yay. Okay. All right, people, you got it. Stop avoiding. Stop trying to get to the end of day one. Okay. Now, how do you help people? So someone's thinking like, oh, this is so helpful. I've already made these decisions on things I'm going to change, but I want more, right? How do you help people?
So I coach women physicians, and the way that I do that is in two different settings, two different options, because it works differently and people feel more comfortable in one versus the other. So I do have a few one-on-one spots that I offer, meaning that I work with women physicians over a 4 to 6 months period, and we determine that time together where we really get to take a deep dive into those micro mini details of what exactly is going on, where are they financially? And what happens over that time is we not only work, money is not fun if your life sucks. We work on their money, we work on their life, because I want you to have money, but I want you to have a rich life. And that's money, relationships, yourself, everything. I want everything for you, pretty much. That's it.
All the things.
I want it all for you. That's it, right? So I do that in my one-on-one coaching group. And then I also have a group program, which is fantastic. And I say that not because I'm the creator, but I say that from the perspective of the people that have been through it. And it's 8 weeks only for women physicians. Sorry, man, I love you guys. I will tell you how you can get some of my information or access to my resources without being in the group program. But what it is, it's a group that I've created for women physicians. Someone described it as the physician lounge that we actually need. And I walk women through 8 weeks of financial education. And it's not just like fluff. It's the 20% that they need to win 80% of their finances. So we have those in video format that they can consume at their own pace. And I've had people binge on them. Someone's like, by the way, I took off yesterday and I watched all the videos. And oh my goodness, that was, so it's, you get to choose your pace pretty much. So we do that. And then we combine it with once a week coaching. And those coaching periods are powerful because you get to really work on those cognitive tools and rewire your brain. But you also get to do that with a group of women physicians that are smart, that are intelligent, that I tend to attract people that have dreams, they have a purpose, and they know that they want to change the world. So imagine being in a room full of those women talking about money, empowering yourself, and getting the cognitive tools that's not only going to change your money, but change your life. It's great.
Love it. Yeah. Yes. And I've talked to people who've come out of your program, and they have nothing but good things to say. So that's really good. Awesome. So where can people find you?
If you want to find me, and I don't know when this is going to be airing, but we're actually going to be starting a group. This is going to be this first one this year. I do this group twice a year, so I'm not going to offer it for another couple of months. So if you're interested, definitely get on. But it's going to be this April 2021 for 8 weeks. And you can find information on it by going to my website at MoneyFitMD.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, MoneyFitMD, or you can email me, moneyfitmd@gmail.com. I try because I know exactly what I want for those women, and I want them to have the space to be able to grow together, communicate together, without it being overcrowded. So I usually do restrict the number of people in the groups. So if anyone is interested, try and get on whenever you're able to. But yes, I'm very intentional about the number of people I have in the group.
Okay, people, now you know where to find her. Thank you so much for coming on here and for sharing. I think that's really powerful. And, people did get a twofer because they got a bit about your journey as an entrepreneur, and they got, their personal finance. So, it was two for the price of one. So thank you so much for coming on and for sharing that. And if you have any last words for doctors in general, and I say this because I understand the times we live in, right? It's different. I mean, going to med school, I don't know any of us knew that there will ever be a time when doctors will not have job security, ever be a time when doctors will be furloughed, ever been a time where doctors will collect unemployment checks. It's just a different time. What would you say to the doctors out there who are not having the easiest of times financially?
This is what I'm going to tell you. I don't care how bad it looks. And I say that not from a place of carelessness, but from a place of there is hope. I don't care how bad it looks. You don't understand how much debt I have. I don't care how much debt you have. There is hope. You don't understand how old I am. I've been in this for a long time. I should be thinking, I don't care. There is hope for you. It may look different. And that's a point. It's personal, right? And the goal is to not compare with anybody else. But at no point should you let yourself sit in that place of hopelessness of it is too late. We need to talk. There is help. And I have a ton of free information you can get. There's paid information. There is hope, right? Because when physicians are losing their jobs, when physicians are losing their lives, we have to understand the gravity of what we're doing, which is this is not just about money. This is about hope. This is about you understanding there is second chances. This is the season we're in right now. And I don't care what the prior season was. There is hope, and get help. We can help you. There's a team of physicians that are waiting just for you to say, yes, I need help. And it does take a lot of work to say yes. But you know what? It's okay to just send us an email and just say yes, and we'll take it from there. That's it.
I love it. Yes. There is hope. Say yes. Well, so there you go. Dr. Latifat, I've said it a number of times, but thank you so much for coming on. This was really, really, really good. And for everyone listening, what I hope you would do is that you would take a screenshot of this episode and you'd post it on your social media, share your biggest aha, tag me, tag Dr. Latifat, and just say, wow, that was an amazing episode, and share with another doctor in your life. This is not just an episode. This is not just a business. This is a mission of hope, right? So there are many doctors who are, having a hard time or not having as good of a time. And you can be the person who lets them know there's another way. So go share it. And Dr. Latifat, thanks again.
Thank you so, so much for having me here. And thanks for everybody listening today. I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of the week.
Yeah. All right, people. I will see you on the very next episode of the EntreMD Podcast. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD Podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to EntreMD.com/on-demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.